Hello everyone, Ariam here, and welcome back to another episode of Extinction Event. Today we're talking about the black-footed ferret, and you'll never guess how it got its name. Aside from the incredibly adorable little black socks and black mask, the black-footed ferret is, well, a ferret. It's pretty typical for a member of the weasel family. Long, lanky body, made for living in burrows in areas of woodlands and prairies. Unfortunately, small doesn't just describe this adorably tiny little hunter, but also its population numbers. Black-footed ferrets are North America's only native ferret species. Not the only native weasel species, there are plenty of weasels, but the only native ferret species. Unfortunately, they are, in addition to being North America's only ferret species, they are North America's most endangered mammal. It was actually believed for a long time that the species already was extinct, but they were rediscovered in 1981 and immediately conservation attempts went into effect. Small, successful, and efficient predator animals, like members of the weasel family, are extremely important to maintaining a healthy ecosystem in the areas they live, especially since they feed mostly on animals that reproduce a ton, like rodents. As much as human beings hate mice and rats, we seem to hate their natural predators in equal amounts. We kill snakes in great abundance, and we drove the black-footed ferret very close to extinction. Conservation experts have been working overtime to make sure that there's a chance that this species can not only thrive, but be reintroduced into its natural habitat. Captive breeding programs have helped expand the gene pool as much as possible, and reintroductions have already begun. However, in the 40 years since these animals have been rediscovered, only around 300 have been able to be released back into the wild, and it's estimated that over 3,000 adult ferrets need to exist in North American ecosystems in order for this species to be considered at a stable place. Genetic issues, trying to avoid inbreeding, and even animal infertility have really contributed to a slow-growing population in breeding programs. Scientists have even resorted to cloning some of these animals to try and get more added back into the gene pool. As amazing as it is to see that an animal on the brink of extinction now has 300 animals in the wild, a lot of people do argue that if only 300 animals were able to survive after 40 years of trying, it might just be too late for this species to exist without intense human intervention. Some people believe it's time to stop putting so many resources into the black-footed ferret and instead allow it to be extinct in the wild and only existing in captivity. I really do see both sides of this argument as very valid. On the one side, humans are largely the ones who caused the downfall of this species, so we should do our best to bring them back and protect them, especially considering the huge role they play in maintaining healthy ecosystems. On the other hand, 40 years of intensive study and intervention have not been enough to bring this animal back to a healthy place. They might just not be able to, and perhaps those resources could be better used trying to help other species that have a better chance at regaining a healthy, stable population. I'd love to hear what you have to say. At what point do humans give up on a species that we drove to extinction? At what point do we decide that resources would be better spent on a different species that might have a better chance of success? I personally err on the side of trying to keep going. I think even if it turns out that black-footed ferrets end up becoming extinct in the wild, everything scientists learn about trying to help boost their populations can then be taken and used with other endangered species, so at the very least it can be seen as a learning moment, but I really do hope these guys make it to a more stable position. Weasels and mustelids as a whole really aren't appreciated enough for the insane impact they make on their ecosystems, considering how tiny they tend to be. But look at the black-footed ferret. 40 years of struggle and it's still here, and there's still hope. And that should remind you to smile.